The Tigers drop a series to the Royals this weekend in what was a very busy weekend on and off the field. Let's talk about it all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, August 5th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. The Detroit Tigers, unfortunately, did not have a very fantastic weekend. They wrap up a 4-game set with having dropped 3 of 4 to the Kansas City Royals. We obviously talked about game 1 of this series on Friday's show. So today, focusing on the dropping of 2 of 3 over the weekend. They are now 53-60. I mean, if you look at these 4 games, the Royals are obviously fighting for playoff spot, and the Tigers are very much not. Their season is effectively over in terms of, making the playoffs or anything. It's not over in terms of development, something that I've preached a lot on this show and that I continue to look for in these games. But the days of me getting really, really upset with a loss, I think, are far behind us at this point in the season, which is always sad. It's always sad to get to that point. But I am in my mid-20s, and the last time this team wasn't at that point, I was a senior in high school, freshman in college. I guess it was the beginning of my freshman year of college. And we didn't even make the playoffs that year. It was just the last time that, we were actually close, and, we were playing meaningful games in September and whatnot. It's been a while. So it's always, sad when we get to this point, but I unfortunately am becoming, more and more used to it, which is just so sad. So I guess I'm not used to it. I guess I'm not, because it still makes me sad that this point comes around every single year. We get to the point where, another loss, it's whatever. More just worried about the individual play and, how specific guys look at the plate and in the field and on the mound and et cetera, et cetera. But this weekend was not particularly competitive. Half of it wasn't. Games 1 and 2 were wildly uncompetitive. So I do give them a little bit of credit for bouncing back, in the sense that it would have been really easy to just kind of roll over, if you will, and lay over. It's an airport. It would have been really easy to just roll over after getting absolutely stomped in games 1 and 2. And they didn't. And they fought in game 3. They had an extra innings win. That was probably the highlight of the weekend. And then game 4, they were winning late and blew, pinch hit, home run, etc. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. Let's talk about what went right and wrong this weekend. So this is a series loss, so we do have to start with what went wrong. I actually want to start with an individual. Usually we kind of start big and then get smaller in terms of our focus, and we start picking out individuals after. I want to start out with Shelby Miller. I'm dangerously close to putting Shelby Miller on the same category or tier, if you will, as Gio Urshela, but on the pitching side of things, right? I've said at length, and I honestly have it written on my show sheet for something that I want to say, talk about rather at the end of the show and stuff. There is zero justification in my head for Gio Urshela being on this baseball team. Zero. Literally zero. And Shelby Miller had a really rough weekend. Allowed a lot of inherited runners on Skubal's start on Friday. That's where that game was actually close, believe it or not, for a decent chunk of it. And then, toward the end, got away from the Tigers in large part due to Shelby Miller on the bump. So that happened. On top of that, You have Sunday's game, in which he obviously was on the mound when that outing went down the drain. So, looking at his season, he now has an ERA of 5.85, pushing a 6 ERA, has been healthy for almost all of the season, had a little bit of an injured list stint there really early on. But that's a pretty full seasons of work as it stands in early August. At some point, it becomes, okay, he's not going to be here next year, and he's just taking up an opportunity for a guy in the minor leagues that could come up and give up 3 runs in crunch time 3 times a week, right? Like I hope he turns it around. I hope he gets another job somewhere else and can find what he did in LA. Maybe even he goes back to LA, because clearly whatever he was doing over there worked. But like it's not working here, man. It's done. And like I don't understand why guys like him and Urshela are on this baseball team. I really don't. A lot of dudes in the system could come up and replace the production that those two guys give you on each side of the ball, because it's not a lot. You're talking about an OPS of, I think now Gio Urshela's is sub 600. Oh, he got it back up to 602, pardon me, on Sunday. And then Shelby Miller's ERA is almost 6. At least give me someone else so that, again, as I said a lot last week, we can learn something new about the future of this team. Whether it's who is going to be a part of the team going forward, or whether we learn about who's not going to be a part of the team going forward. It's still more information than throwing out Shelby Miller and Gio Urshela the rest of the way. I do not understand it. Okay, spent way too much time on that, but it really just does not make any sense to me. Like, legitimately 0 sense. It does not compute in my head whatsoever. You also had a stretch on Friday, I believe it was, where the Royals recorded 9 consecutive hits. That is remarkably terrible. And I don't expect that to happen over and over again the rest of the way. But yeah, this team's in for a rough last couple of months here. Jake Rogers, I think, had a pretty rough weekend. I don't know how it's possible to ground into a double play with the infield in. I really don't. I'm not sure I've ever seen it before. I immediately tried to think back, like, oh, Miguel Cabrera has surely done that, or oh, like Albert Pujols has like the most double plays like anyone has ever had. It's like one of the if you want like under the radar unbreakable records, Albert Pujols career double plays, go check it out. But I think that, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, somebody had to have, right? I don't think I have a memory. Not that it's obviously happened at some point. I don't think I have a memory of it happening. Remarkable. But his offensive numbers are just plummeting. He's been good defensively. He hasn't been so elite that it justifies, a really, really poor offensive contributor at the plate. I hope he turns it around. I hope that we can get good defense and offense of what we got last year. Not asking for the world, right? You put up a 700 OPS and run into 15, 18 homers with how he calls games and how he can be behind the plate. I'm fine with that. But that's a big if right now, because his OPS starts with the number 5. Offense in general just really was not very great. I've said that a lot. I'm probably going to say it a lot more, but it's the truth. If you look at the lineup card, I know people don't even want to play the OPS game. We won't. Well, we might. Just look at the lineup card on Friday, dog. The bottom 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The bottom half of your lineup. Winfield Perez. Love the dude, right? Mr. Make Stuff Happen. Had the walk-off, obviously. Great weekend for him. Not trying to take anything away from his season, because I think it's very impressive. OPS is under 690 now, right? Been kind of slowly taking a little bit of a step back, all things considered. Jake Rogers, OPS under 600, batting average under 200. Ryan Vilade, 584 OPS. Gio Urshela, 596. Javi Baez, 477. This is all obviously before the hits on Saturday and Sunday, so that maybe has changed a little bit. But going into the game, those were those stats. And then in the top half of your lineup, your best OPS was still only 747. Your best average was 268. It's not going to be great the rest of the way. No surprise to anybody who's listening to this. You knew that. But it's really not great. Okay, let's keep going here. Got a couple more individuals to talk about on the side of things that went wrong. Then we'll talk about what went right. And then we actually have quite a lot in stuff today. Busy weekend. We'll talk about all of that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Liquid IV. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Look, you can take this anywhere. My family takes it literally everywhere. It's like an ongoing joke in my family, legitimately, about how much we use and always have Liquid IVs on our person. Staying hydrated while traveling, going to summer festivals, after a night out, etc., etc. They are the perfect clutch thing to have on you in any situation. You can tear, pour, and live more. One stick with 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by Liquid IV, Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. It has 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off of your first order with Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order and shop better hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked on Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to that everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow. Got an off-day show, trying to game plan what we are going to talk about tomorrow, but we will, in fact, be back tomorrow for the Tigers off day as we send you into this series against the Mariners. Going to the West Coast, got late nights ahead of us. Also, be sure to check out Locked on MLB and make it your second listen. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked on MLB, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. So, talked about what went wrong. I do want to end, unfortunately, on the note that is Tarik Skubal. This is to his standards, right? Everything's relative in this world. And I think that looking at that outing, it was very far from like a train wreck or a really bad outing. And a lot of the runs that were tagged onto him, rather, were inherited runs that Shelby Miller then allowed when he went into the game, but was a little pretty consistently in trouble the last, definitely the inning he got pulled in. As the outing went along, stuff let up a little bit, got off to a unbelievable start, was looking fantastic the first few innings, then kind of let up later. This is the first time he's given up more than 4 earned runs in like ages. It maybe has been over a year, like legitimately. He has been on some sort of special heater. And it's not a heater. He's just really good. It's not like this is a weird hot streak for him. I shouldn't call it a heater, but it's one of those things where, again, like to his standards, maybe it wasn't great. And I don't have any nitpicky, like, oh, like he should have done this better. Like legitimately his stuff just got a little bit worse and he kind of got away from him as the outing went along, at the very, very end of the outing. Not even really as it went along, just at the very end there. It kind of got away from him. But I mean, before that, he had 2-3 runs against him, and it was a competitive game. So Yeah, like the reason that they lost by 7 is not because of Tarik Skubal. It's just, again, to his standards, he hasn't given up 5 runs in a very, very, very long time. So we'll put him here for now, just for the sake of being fair, right? Everybody's got to be on the side of things that went wrong at some point this season. I would venture to bet that he hasn't been a single time so far this year. Let's talk about what went right. Saturday was one of the best days of the year for the Tigers. Legitimately, you had the Leland ceremony. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, but on the field, that was an awesome win. And I know it's going to be bleak the rest of the way. And I know I'm super, like down on this team. And you listen and go, wow, like now I feel even worse than I did before. Like I get it. And I'm very, very, I don't know, down on this team going forward. And I make that very clear. But games like Saturday are really fun. And I think they're important too. Like I had a couple people, when everybody was cheering and celebrating the win, and when I was posting about the win and whatnot on Twitter, they were like, oh, like just lose, like who even cares? It's like, I really don't subscribe to that. I really don't. Like I understand the logic of like just get the higher pick and whatnot, but you don't need to look any further than your own organization for proof that having the highest draft pick doesn't automatically mean that player is going to be really good. And I think it's far more important for them as an organization. And you can find talent anywhere. It's not like the NBA draft where it's like, oh, if you're not picking in the top like 10 or 12, you're not getting a really good NBA player more times than not. Baseball is not like that. You can find talent anywhere, especially all throughout the first round. So I just like don't subscribe to that in baseball specifically, right? Like the tanking thing. When we were really bad, like, sure, you might as well, you're already down here. You might as well. I really think days like Saturday are important. Games like Saturday are important, right? Like you have the crowd for Leland. They show out. You have a gritty, like genuinely a gritty, like comeback, force extra innings, come back again and again in extra innings. You force the win against a much better team than you. I think those games are important for development. I really do. So I wanted to give a tip of the cap to how Saturday went. Parker Meadows being back, I think, is great. He was obviously a big part of the win on Saturday. That's fantastic news that he is back. He should play center field every single day. I do not care righty lefty. I do not care anything about matchup, anything. The last 2 months of the season, he should play every single game in center field. I do not care. I don't. Every day. You don't have another center fielder on your roster. You have 0 other ones. He made some swing adjustments. He looks significantly better than he did before getting demoted and before the injury. Significantly. See what you have in him. If you don't, and you don't let him play in all situations, we're going to go into the winter and go, I don't know if we should sign a center fielder or not. See what you have in the players that might be here in the future. Play him every single day. And I know that Tuesday we're going to face a lefty and he's not, and I'm going to lose it. Play him every day. Okay. Bly Madris. He might be Barry Bonds reincarnated. Bly Madris may be the greatest baseball player of all time. No, but seriously, he's obviously off to a really great start. I mean, yeah, just ride it for as long as you can. I don't expect Bly Madris to be a part of the future. I don't expect Bly Madris to really even maintain the current level he's hitting at, but I don't care. I'm desperate for any sort of production on the offensive side of the ball. If that means Bly Madris batting 4 or 5 in my lineup going forward, then so be it. The dude's OPS is in the 900s at the moment, and he's crushing righties. Put him in there, baby. Bly Madris. Things I never thought I'd say going into the season, and here we are. I don't know if that's more of a testament to him or the season. Probably a little bit of both, but the fact of the matter is he's been hitting really well. I actually like his swing a lot too. Yeah, again, like just see what you got in some of these guys. Why not play Bly Madris? And he's hitting well. Keep throwing him out there. I believe that they will. I have no reservations or concerns, I guess I should say, about AJ not playing him against righties going forward because he's been crushing them. It's really cool to see. Good for him, no matter what happens in his major league career going forward. If he has a long one, if this is really it, does not matter. It'll be cool. That's just awesome to say, you know what, for for a little bit there, hard to get him out. So yeah, keep playing him, man. Okay, got a couple more players, then we'll talk stuff. Okay, we'll do that right after this. Got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the definition of honestly awesome. They're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can get in on all the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. It's awesome. You just pick more or less on stat projections. So starting pitching strikeouts, I talk about until I'm blue in the face. It's one of my favorite things to do. Always like looking at the probable pitchers for the next day and taking more or less on certain strikeout numbers. But they have home runs, RBIs, hits, fantasy points, total bases, you name it. You can get in on all the action over at Prize Picks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Okay, so few more players here that I want to talk about on the side of things that went right. Justin Henry Malloy, I thought had a pretty solid weekend. Not the most incredible weekend ever or anything, but had a homer. I think he continues to take steps in the right direction. The biggest issue I had with his swing when he first got called up was that the passiveness really made it hard for him to catch up to velocity. And he's been turning on some velocity lately. Now, some of that is if you just sit dead red, then you can turn and burn if you guess right kind of thing. Not that he's a guess hitter. That has a very negative connotation. Not what I'm trying to imply. That's an adjustment that needs to be made. And I think he's getting better. He's certainly not perfect at it, but I think he's a lot better than he was. But also one of the biggest things that we pointed out here very early on in his major league career was that, spin low and away, anything soft low and away, he was having trouble with because that's really hard to do. It's really hard to time up and get your bat on, off speed or breaking balls low and away in the strike zone when you have to respect velocity on the inner half of the plate. That is an almost impossible task. And somehow these major leaguers make it look relatively easy. And I think that he's been getting a lot better about just, doesn't have to necessarily pull everything. And if he gets a slider low and away, just slap that thing the other way and call it what it is. So I think he's making adjustments. He's getting better. There's still a lot of things I want to see him improve on. But I do think over the last month, he has taken some steps in the right direction. And then Tyler Holton, fantastic. He's now gone weeks without giving up a run. He has been great. This continues to be one of the better finds that this front office has had in the Scott Harris era, just for absolutely nothing, for free. We got Tyler Holton, and he has been one of the best relievers in this bullpen for now 2 years running. And then lastly, we'll end with Brant Herter, who makes his major league debut on Sunday, goes 3 innings, no runs, 3 strikeouts, and no walks. I liked the stuff. I think he's probably more of a long reliever type of swingman that we saw in this game. I think that's honestly probably his perfect role at the major league level. Just because I would he was pumping mid 90s, 94. I think it was his first pitch of his career and whatnot. So that I think probably goes down if he's a pure starter and is probably closer to low 90s. I'm not sure the stuff plays as well with that lower velocity, but I really liked what I saw from him in the 3 innings of work he got. That's a respectable lineup that's put up some pretty good numbers this year. And went one time through the lineup and didn't allow a run and didn't walk anybody either, which is super important. I really like the sweeper. I think that can be an effective pitch for him. I like it. And I think if he turns into like what Tyler Alexander was for this team, then that's a huge win for the organization and a huge win for Brant Herter. So tip of the cap, congratulations, major league debut. Always an awesome feeling, man. And first major league strikeout is kind of the equivalent to first hit as a hitter. Just never gets old. Never gets old. Reminds you of the kind of the core love of the game whenever you see a major league debut. So congratulations to Brant Herter for that. Lifelong dreams come true, and he looked pretty darn good on top of that. Not just out there for the story, was very productive as well. Unfortunately, Shelby Miller and the Tigers again blow the game. Let's talk stuff. The Leland ceremony was fantastic. Miguel Cabrera, Dave Dombrowski, seeing all of these players from the quote unquote glory days of the last, or really of the 21st century, come back and pay their respects to Leland and whatnot. Now, I know some people still have their, complaints about whatnot with Leland and his managerial style and stuff. But, at the end of the day, that dude loved this city and still does. And he loved the fans dearly. Say what you will about, Don Kelly batting second or, like certain things that he did. I had my issues with him in the moment as well. But one thing that you could never deny or doubt about Jim Leland is that he was going to give his 100% effort and he was going to do it for you watching at home. And that's something that I always felt with Jimmy. And I certainly did this weekend as well. Said go get an F and win to the dugout after his ceremony. How can you not love Jimmy Leland, man? So congratulations, number 10 retired, and the Hall of Famer Jim Leland honored on Saturday. Salvador Perez continues to crush the Tigers. I know we talk about J-Ram a lot. We're going to talk about Bobby Witt Jr. a lot going forward. There's Tigers killers kind of around the AL Central, and there always has been. There was plenty in the AL East, right, back before the Central existed too, back in the day. But Salvador Perez is a guy that's not talked about as much as like, J-Ram or like Jim Tomei was or like et cetera. But my goodness, he just absolutely had his way with the Tigers all weekend. And he's like 55 years old and he is still the heart and soul of that team and is still an absolute menace when facing at least the Detroit Tigers. And tip of the cap, heck of a career that Salvador Perez has made for himself. Ryan Kreidler sent to AAA for Austin Meadows, and Sean Gunther sent to AAA for Brant Herter. So some roster moves there I wanted to cover really quickly. Riley Green wins the Heart and Hustle Award for those who care about that. I'm trying to remember who it went to last year. That's probably something I should have had prepped. I'll look it up. Maybe we can talk about it tomorrow. I'm sure somebody will remember, honestly. But it's always a kind of a funny award to keep track of just because it has nothing to do with performance. Like, it's genuinely just who hustles the most. I think Robbie Grossman won it one year, right? Like, it's just totally a kind of a grab bag of players over the years, which I always think kind of funny. I was going to get on my soapbox about Gio Urshela, but I feel like I already did at the beginning of the show, so we'll kind of let that go. I've made that pretty clear. Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal both stay hot. Both are on some pretty big heaters down in West Michigan right now. I think there's a chance that both of them are in Erie to start off the season next year, or at least early on in the season next year. And if that's the case, that's a fantastic sign for their development, because then if they do really well in the first half next year, they could even find themselves in Toledo of the second half of next season. I think that would be this thing working. I think that would kind of put some people, not everybody. I know some people are just going to be mad about Langford forever, which is, fine if you want to live that way. But I think that would kind of put some people at ease about like, okay, this guy's at least kind of climbed through the system relatively quickly. Next year he'll be 20. Langford was drafted at 20 or 21. Like Clark is 19 right now, I think, or maybe just turned 20, somewhere around there. So, as far as development goes, I think it's great. I don't even like I only bring up Langford because all the fan base does. I don't even like comparing them. Like he's his own guy, and he's been great down there. Has been playing really good defense in center, but really has been on a tear offensively. Even gets called up. You almost expect him to take a little bit of a step back, maybe struggle against the better pitching. No, he has crushed. He's made a lot of swing adjustments this year. We can get into those in the offseason. Kind of go through all the things he's changed, because he has changed a ton, almost from month to month at one point. But he's been going through a lot of adjustments, and he's come out of it looking pretty darn good, man. I'm pretty excited about this kid at this point. Always have been, honestly, even on draft night. You can go watch that episode. But I wanted to point that out, that he's been on a heater lately. And then Spencer Torkelson has been hitting the ball very well. Homered again on Sunday. I don't know why he's not back up. I don't even think he's fixed everything. He's changed his mechanics a little bit. We could talk about that when he gets called up as well. But again, Gio Urshela, I'm not even going to go back down the rabbit hole. There's no reason that Gio Urshela should be getting reps at first base and Torkelson should be in AAA. I don't care if you don't think Torkelson's ever going to be good. It still makes more sense to do that than what they're doing. I don't understand it. So I would expect him to be back, but who knows? This front office never fails to confuse the ever-living heck out of me. And then lastly, Colt Keith wins Rookie of the Month in the month of July. So right on a positive note here. That's pretty darn cool. He obviously tore the cover off the ball in July, has looked much, much better and than he did at the start of the season, that is. And yeah, his approach is good, man. Anything, soft and inside, he's going to try to turn on and crush. And anything hard and outside, he's going to try to slap the other way for a hit. And it's been working really, really well. I would like him to this offseason going into next year. I think the next step is driving those pitches that are away and not just kind of slapping at them and getting singles out of them. I think he has the capability of doing it. He's got a beautiful bat path. But I have loved what I've seen from him this season. I've liked the adjustments he's made, the development that he's on. I think is fantastic. I'm really excited that Colt Keith is a part of this team going forward and signed the contract he did, et cetera, et cetera. It's really cool to see him get recognized kind of, nationally, especially because they refuse to put him in any, American League, like Rookie of the Year watch graphics, even though he has better numbers than quite a few of the players that are, like Wyatt Langford. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow. Sorry that this did not go out at midnight. Had a long night. Am back now. I'm going to go to bed. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I will catch you all tomorrow. Go Tigers, baby.